It's not even recognizable as the same thing that people call this rock and roll that won't survive.
Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan.
Composers.
What do you know, and I found that was the most interesting aspect of the new music that we were doing at that time was actually working with synthesizers but throwing the manuals away so that we had no idea how the damn things worked. And it was the mistakes that they made that we found more interesting than the stuff that they were because these things are programmed by high-tech buffs who really don't have any sensibility of what can be done musically, so they put in the stuff that they believe musicians would want to use. And that's the stuff that you really don't want to hear because it's like fake strings and things like that. So if you get the wrong circuits going, you get all these crackles and farts coming out of these things. I mean, it just produces the most extraordinary sounds and different range of textures. I'm out there on a cherry picker, that huge long arm which reaches out over the audience. Oh, the times that thing took, it took like half an hour to get it back again. And one night it would just break down and it was just stuck out there. And I finished Space Oddity and I put the phone down. And I just didn't know what to do, because I'm just still stuck out there, and all the audience are down there, and all these hands are coming up. And what do I do? Do I do the rest of the show out there? But that was the early days of rock theatre, I guess, and so many of those dreadful escapades. The older that I get, the more that I realise what kind of escapist attraction there is to taking on the role of somebody else. As I've been through that. I love theatre, I thought it was great, and I thought there was a way of doing something exciting with the stage and rock. The idea of a prefabricated rock star, one that didn't exist, a sampled rock star, I thought was kind of cool. In Clockwork Orange and Kabuki Theatre, just these, grab this and grab that, a real rag bag of information that didn't actually make any real literal sense. In interviews and stuff, I would just either quote James Dean or Nietzsche. It didn't really matter, because all the ingredients that went into it, people would interpret that, and I'd agree with them. I thought, golly, what power. Gosh. I let the whole thing trickle over into my life to such a degree that it affected me dramatically and traumatically for quite a few years during the 70s. Iggy took the whole ethos of the beat writer and made it applicable to modern music. People would lay him side by side with Jim Morrison. I don't think that's quite fair, because I think Morrison came from much more of a European mentality, where Iggy was so totally American. So totally Midwest. The trouble is with being a visual artist is that the visual aspects of one's art generally leave their marks more graphically than the more musical form of what you do. The conveyances that give us rock and roll are contributing more to the change in society than rock itself. MTV, for instance, a channel which conveys rock and roll to us, actually instigated a whole method of trying to involve youth with changing politics and voting.
Yo, what's
A friend of mine who works in computers and high-tech industry said that for him, he saw a 21st century where people, to escape the high concept and the agonizing realization that we no longer understand or control our technology, would want to go home and touch something made of wood. And I think that is kind of the place that rock is taking. Things like grunge, for me, and Eric Clapton and rap have a small, comfortable feel about them. They are almost tribal. They're things that you can touch. They're made of wood.